Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 16th. As far as attendance, Councillor Coleman sends his regrets. We've got Councillor Howes and Councillor Miller online. Councillor Oakley? I'm not sure if Councillor Oakley is here. And then Councillor Garneau is here as well. So at this point, it's Councillor Coleman and Councillor Oakley that we're not aware of here. Okay, so approval of the agenda. Huh? Oh, Councillor Miller, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to add something under other business, Mr. Chair, regarding, it's just a traffic matter. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else to add anything to the agenda? Seeing none others, approval of the agenda as amended. Mayor Bailey, Councillor Bell, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest, any at this time? Seeing none, if any arise through the meeting, please advise us. Delegations and petitions. We had one delegation, Samantha Moda, that has been withdrawn. It's going to be coming back next month, is my understanding. So 4.1 is withdrawn and coming back next month. There's no other delegations today, so that moves us to Section 5, adoption of the previous minutes. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Kyle. Councillor Garneau, thank you. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Business arising from the minutes. Anything? Seeing none, and Councillor Oakley is late but brought donuts. That's a good thing. Okay. Okay. That'll move us to Section 7, consent items to be approved. 7.1, we've got 7.1.1, which is the road salt tender. Greg, not sure if you want to speak to it. Pretty straightforward. Okay, can I get a mover to get that on the floor? Councillor Bell, Councillor Kyle. Any questions on that report? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 7.1.2, the Granville Phase 3 Arlington Meadows Park Splash Pad Tender Award. Can I get somebody to get that on the floor, please? Councillor McAlpine, Mayor Bailey. Questions on that report? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 7.1.3 is a property class for the new multi-residential. Can I get somebody to get that on the floor? Councillor Oakley, Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller, you have a question on that? Take that as a no. No other questions on that? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 7.2, consent items to be received. We have 4 of them by the looks of it. Does anybody want any of them pulled? Councillor Bell? Okay. So that will be 7.2.2. Anybody else want any pulled? Okay, so Councillor Bell, let's go to you, and then we'll just approve them all at the end. So 7.2.2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks to staff for this report. A lot of discussion in the media about strong mayor's powers, and I know our own mayor has reluctantly accepted the strong mayor's power, and he can shake his head or nod his head next to me, as the case may be. He's nodding, so yes, he's reluctant. We know we don't really have a choice in this, but I do applaud the direction we're going in this one. And when we come to discuss the plans for this year's budget, I think that encapsulates in my mind exactly how a strong mayor's power should be used when a mayor didn't want them in the first place. I think he's showing great thought for the processes we've followed in the years past. And I think it is to be commended that staff and the mayor have worked this through. So I can only say I'm very supportive of what's written here. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so no other questions and nobody else wanted anything else pulled. So we'll approve 7.2.1 to 7.2.4. All those in favor? Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Staff reports. We've got RPT-0333-25, which is an update on the corporate finance policies. Not sure if you want to speak to this. Any questions? Can I get somebody to move it on the floor, please? Councillor Oakley, Councillor Garneau. Questions on this report? Councillor Miller.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on 8.1, I guess, the debt policy, page 64 of our package, section 3.3, talks about types of debt. And one of the types of debts it mentions is lease agreements. So my question is, are lease agreements or are leases considered debt? And if so, do leases count towards our overall limit of 15%? And I'm talking specifically in relation to, say, the new ambulance headquarters, which is going to be 100% leased. So just a question on the leases.
Heather?
Through the chair, for accounting purposes, the leases are considered debts and do count towards the ARL. The paramedic services headquarters has been accounted when we've given the past ARL projections. So it is part of what we've put forward.
Councillor Miller?
No, I appreciate the answer. Wasn't aware of that, so good to know. Yeah, that lease for the paramedics, I mean, it's a little bit unusual. It's not like leasing a building and putting our library in there, because we did it because we could get the province to help pay for the lease. So that's why I was asking specifically about the ambulance headquarters and the ambulance parking. Maybe I would be treating it a little bit differently myself, like I say, because it does, I won't say generate revenue, but we're not spending as much in the long run.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks again to staff for this report. I think it's timely. A couple of things that I would pick out. If I'm looking at section 3.4, which is debt categories, in 3.4.2, it talks about preferences should be given or should be focused on projects that will result in increased revenue generation. There's an implied priority in this policy. And I think it would be helpful if staff could spell out a little more when we go through the budget process where our various line items fit within this prioritization. So if I look at 3.4.2, I'm asking myself the question, does that make the library a low priority? And maybe staff could answer that one specifically. I've got a couple more after that.
Heather?
Thank you, through the chair. These are generally the practices we've always done for funding sources. It's just putting it more into paper. The library was largely under the growth-related development charges debt project, so that was partly where that one fell in. But certainly we can categorize as we go through the budget process where the funding sources are proposed.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. But, I mean, when I think about the way in which we were going to fund the library, there was quite a chunk of it which was not development charges. And so I'm reading into this policy that relative to repairing a road, the library is a lower priority. Am I correct in that?
Heather?
I don't know that we would be saying specifically it might be a lower priority for debt funding, but certainly it is council's the one that sets the actual priorities. This is just based on where staff recommend funding come from. So this isn't us saying that certain projects are good or bad. This is just saying that we would generally recommend that certain projects be funded from debt or be funded from reserves based on where they fall into these categories.
Okay, thank you. Bigger question, when you get to 3.5.1, which is the annual repayment limit, the self-imposed limit for the county is 15% of own source revenues. This policy does not talk about what happens if we approach that limit? What is the process we go through if we approach limit or appear to be going above it?
Heather?
When we're doing our long-term plan reviews, if we see a pinch point that we think is going to go over our debt limit, our self-imposed debt limit, we would certainly be discussing that with council and deciding whether we are changing our programs or going to extend that self-imposed limit. The provincial limit is a much different story, and that requires approval through the OLT, but we certainly don't propose to be going anywhere near that overall provincial limit.
Okay, so if I'm reading that correctly, then you'd flag it up and you'd raise it as an issue that council should debate and come to a conclusion on, given that we can't go any higher than 25%.
Through the chair, we would not go any higher than the 15% self-imposed without bringing it directly to council to make that decision, knowing the full story.
But we do have the ability to go somewhere between 15 and 25, should council agree.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think we should, just as a general comment, debt is not always a bad thing. Debt is used to finance businesses the world round. And I can recall one, and John McAlpine may recall it as well, when I ran for Ward 1 in 2014, I think it was, there's a question was asked, why is the council using debt so much? And I argued then that debt is a useful tool and we should not be limited by 15%, but we should be very thoughtful about going past it. But there are things that are coming up that we might want to use that capacity between 15 and 25 for good purpose. Green bins is a good example where we've turned it down, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, basically because we thought we couldn't afford to spend the capital. And I think that's incredibly short-sighted, and I'll bring that back next week when we have that conversation. But once again, to staff, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that report? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. 8.2, which is RPT 0343-25, the 2026 budget direction. I'm not sure if you guys want to just answer questions on that. Okay, can I get a mover to get it on the floor? Councillor Bell, Councillor McAlpine, questions? Councillor Bell.
On page 79 of the report, the top paragraph says, since the 2026 capital forecast currently projects property tax levy increase of approximately 13.6%, and that's quite sobering number. So we said that significant work needed to bring the capital program in line with the asset management program, which represents a smoothing of the long-term financial plan, smoothing of the long-term financial plan increases. I think it's worth recalling that the capital forecast is more than just asset management. There are some items in there that are clearly not just about asset management that we will need to consider. And I think we smooth at our peril. We can be very clearly seen, not got my green button on. We can be very clearly seen to be just pushing the can down the road if we're not very careful. So I think despite the fact that there is a very high property tax levy, I think just going back to the earlier comment about the use of debt, we should be thoughtful that we don't pass up sensible economic opportunities that will benefit our community now, simply because of that number on the page here of 13.6. I sincerely hope it's not 13.6, but if we can use other funding mechanisms, there's work to be done, there's work that's important to the community now that we shouldn't put off, and in the case of green bins, till 2034. I think that's inappropriate. Thank you.
Any other questions on that report? Councillor Oakley?
Through you, Mr. Chair, less of a question, more of a comment. I just wanted to commend staff on, I believe Councillor Bell kind of highlighted this earlier when we were talking about the strong mayor power letter, but just in being able to recapture a lot of the elements that we had in our budget process, despite sort of the forced change by the province. And I'd like to thank both staff and the mayor for indulging us in having that opportunity still impact the budget in mostly the same way. And I think there's also a certain logic as well of having our input be through the long-term financial plan, because that really helps us put it in the context of the longer sort of forecast. So I think that's a great idea. And similar to Councillor Bell here, I will also just note with the 13%, we've been talking the past couple of years over whether or not pulling down reserves defers the need for investment, or whether or not it gets rid of it. I think it's clear that we're, kicking the can down the road, and that's our 13%, and smoothing, again, I would read as deferral. So that would be, we still have to come up with the money eventually at some point, even with smoothing. So, I would just caution again against further of pushing it down the road, just because we can, and because a big number is hard to have a conversation with folks about. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions on that report? Councillor Chambers, then Mayor Bailey.
Yeah, I'm trying to get through my mind how the Mayor's Power Act is going to impact on what the budget is going to look like in the end with veto powers and stuff like that. With capital projects and the capital budget, does the strong Mayor's Power give the mayor the opportunity to veto any budgeted capital projects?
Heather?
Through the chair, yes. It would give him the opportunity to put forward or not put forward any capital budget projects. It does give council opportunities to overturn his decisions, but he does have the opportunity to bring forward the budget in any form he wants to bring forward the budget.
So, not necessarily this mayor, but in future years down the road, a mayor could basically dictate a percentage increase and a capital program forecast, and the council, when we talk about we should do this, the council could propose changes to that, what I'll call a strict regimen, and the mayor could veto that. So essentially, depending on the mayor, the mayor can set the tax rate, he can set capital projects, and the council can't do a damn thing about it if the mayor vetoes that. And that is what the strong mayor's power is all about. Am I right on that?
Yeah, except council, if it bands together as a 2/3 majority, can overrule any mayor decision.
Right.
So that's the check on the mayor's power, is 2/3 of the council has to agree with that. So if 2/3 don't agree with that, if 1/3 of the council has the same bent as the mayor, then that essentially allows 4 members of council to set the budget.
Yes.
Stay tuned to that one.
Mayor Bailey.
Through the chair to council, I would just like to take this time to caution council on what they're putting on Facebook, because it's been distorted. It's not. There's some lies being told about the strong mayor's powers, and people are saying, people from around this table, that the mayor will wear the new budget and the new tax rate, and councillors will get away unscathed because it's all going to come back onto the mayor. So I want you to be very careful, noting that the Integrity Commissioner has already been contacted. It's not the way it works, that if you're trying to disqualify the common sense of the mayor, who has publicly stated that I won't do this, please be careful what you put on your Facebook pages or what you say at Drinks Fest or other places about how the strong mayor's powers work regarding the budget. Thank you.
Any other Councillor Chambers?
And I just want to echo the mayor's feelings on that, because that can really impact through misinformation on a whole variety of things going into the next election. And I give credit to our mayor for being upfront and honest on how he's going to proceed. But in future years, that can have a real impact. And if misinformation is plastered on Facebook pages and it gets around, and depending on whose Facebook page, people tend to believe that kind of stuff, and you have to be very, very careful. And I agree with the mayor 100%. Facebook pages are good, but you have to be careful what you're saying on these Facebook pages because it can have a tremendous impact on your colleagues around this
So
table.
I'm gonna call a timeout there. I understand what's being said about the Facebook pages, but that's getting away from where we're going in this particular item on the agenda, okay? So duly noted, but let's move away from that and let's continue on with any discussion regarding this particular item. Councilor Garneau.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to pick up on two sides of a different coin, and that's the 13.6 for the capital forecast. I want to acknowledge that staff are looking at options because what has been identified around this table prior to the Facebook comments was that one way to look at smoothing is deferring, the other is to look at affordability. So I think that we have to remember there are facts and structures in place, but there are also differences of opinion and political thought, and that debate is going to still be important to the budget. So I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that in this conversation as well.
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilor Bell, and then last time, Councilor Chambers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a statement here that says that at the heart of the new budget process is the previous year's forecasts. And I think that says something about the fact that we're changing now to to bring forward forecasts of future years. So we won't start from what did we do last year? We'll be starting from saying, what did we do last year, thinking about next year. But I have a specific question about external agencies. Quite a lot of our quite a lot of our funding rather, goes to fund external agencies. And I don't see that mentioned in this particular paragraph. To what extent does the strong mayor have authority over external agencies' budgets that are brought forward? Let me give you an example. The Board of Health, under the current provincial legislation, if the Board of Health says that's the budget, then that's the budget. And I believe the strong mayor has no authority over that to change it. But perhaps staff could be clear on that for me.
Heather?
Through the chair, I don't exactly know what the answer is to that. I don't know that that's been particularly tested as of yet as to what authority, where that authority line is drawn over who gets to say what happens with those external agency budgets. I haven't put them as part of our long-term financial plan process because we will not likely have those budgets by then. But they're something that are going to have to get fed into the mayor's budget before it's presented in January. And I'm not sure what the test will be as to, I guess we'll see now that so many mayors have strong mayor powers, what happens if they are challenging the external agency budgets.
Councilor Bell?
No, thank you.
Councilor Chambers, last to you.
One question as well. From time to time through the year, council commits funds prior to the budget to be included in the budget. And we think of examples of that. You can think of your own examples. So how does that reconcile in the presentation of the budget by the mayor? Can he rescind council's decisions prior to the budget on expenditures, or how is that going to work?
Through the chair, so where council has so far referred things to budget, we will be putting those as part of the long-term financial plan for council to make a final decision whether it's in or out. But the mayor does have the authority to make any changes to the budget after that. So he can take out things that council had previously agreed to, if that's the decision.
Okay, good discussion. No further questions on that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Moving on to 8.3, RPT 0331-25, Partners for Climate Protection membership. So we've kind of broken this into two parts. The part A, if you want to call it, is voting on the county becoming a member. And then if in fact we vote the county to become a member, then part B would be to elect somebody to be on that committee. Okay? So we're going to ask for somebody to put this on the floor. Mayor Bailey, Councilor Oakley. Okay, so as far as becoming a member of the Partners of the Climate Protection Program, any questions? Councillor Oakley.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just again, another comment. I think this is a fantastic idea for us to sort of join this Partners for Climate Protection, as it'll help us achieve our goals in our climate action plan. So I'm in full support.
No other questions? Okay, all those in favor of, we'll call it Part A. Okay, that is approved. Now, the second part of this is to elect somebody to be named as one of the County of Brant contacts for the Partner of Climate and Action Protection. Looking for Mayor Bailey?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Oakley, seeking a seconder.
Councillor Oakley, will you?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Councillor Bell, that's second. Any other nominations? Going once? Twice? I'm going to make you wait, Councillor Oakley, 3 times? No, okay, so there's no further nominees. So Councillor Oakley, you're good to go with that? All those in favor of Councillor Oakley? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you for that. Okay, 8.4, which is RPT 0286-25, the award of the North Paris Fire Station. Somebody get that on the floor? Councillor Kyle, Councillor McAlpine. Questions? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, question on timing. We know that Lanka have come in as the lowest bidder. Are they meeting our timeline?
Who can speak to this? Cindy?
Through the chair, the contract with Lanka has an end date for construction of March 2027.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that report? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Section 9, committee reports and minutes, Brant Heritage. Can I get a mover to get it on the floor? Councillor Oakley, Councillor McAlpine. Questions on that report? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 9.2, Brant Connects. Can I get somebody to get it on the floor? Mayor Bailey? Councillor Miller, thank you. Questions on that report? Seeing none, Councillor Bell?
Sorry if I may, it's a question that I've posed to Councillor Miller before. I see lots of orange cable around the county, rolled up nicely in various places, normally next to a hole of some kind, and Councillor Miller told me that his parents-in-law have the biggest hole in the front of their garden for this purpose. My question to him was, what's the next step, and when can people expect to be connected to high-speed internet?
Who can, Dave?
Through the chair, unfortunately, I don't have that information at my fingertips. Greg's may have that information. I was going to say we can take it back, but if Greg can answer that question.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have a short answer. So we are getting questions from the public. So Ledcor is actively still connecting people and putting cable in the ground. I know that they do have connection dates right out to early next year in 2026. I just had a request for someone in the Harley area, and that was what was given to us by Ledcor. I can go back and get a end project completion date for you, but as well, if someone from the public reaches out to you and asks when they're going to be connected, please put them in contact with the Roads Division, and we will get them that information.
Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's the Roads Division dealing with internet services, but I'm sure you're going to do a fabulous job of it. But I think that on a more general note, it would be helpful, I think, if we put a public communication out that said, because many people see these cables and the cable laying activity is still ongoing just outside of Paris, if there could be some indication of where you go if you think you want to be connected and you're not connected, and some idea of the longer-term schedule for this activity. So that would be, I think, very helpful to people that have contacted me.
I think the CAO has taken note on that, so. Any other questions on that report? Councillor Miller?
Yeah, just, I think Councillor Chambers actually had his hand up, but I will point out that I believe your road, Councillor Chambers, has been connected. And I was going to say that the connections are happening. It's just not all at once. The original goal of ASIP was to be done by 2025. There's a new owner of the infrastructure, Redwood. It's a bit of a complicated situation, but they own it, and they did present at the last Brant Connects committee meeting. And they were talking about how some of these projects, you know, they have every intention of getting them done by mid 2027 or mid 2026 of next year, which was interesting because ASIP was supposed to be done by 2025. But that's the last information we have, is that all these county projects should be wrapped up by next year sometime.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any other questions on that report? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, that's it for section 9. Moving on to section 10, resolutions. Councillor Oakley, you have a resolution here. Has everybody had a chance to read it? Did we want Councillor Oakley to read it, or is everybody good? Councillor Oakley?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is just a notice of motion for next week.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of notice of motion? Okay, opposed, we're good on that. Communications, I see none. Other business, Councillor Miller, you had something?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chair, and I've heard it from two people recently. I heard it a couple of years ago, but there's, and this is for maybe operations, or Greg or somebody, but maybe they could look at the lights at the intersection of Highway 53 and Highway 24. And if you're traveling, if you want to make a left from Highway 24 onto 53, so you're heading into Brantford, it can be several light turns before you make that left at certain times of day. Not when it's not busy, but usually at rush hour in the morning and rush hour in the evening. So I don't know how if that's that kind of thing is monitored on a regular basis, but as we grow, as we add more people, more cars, some of these intersections, we'll see different traffic patterns. And like I said, I've heard from, well, 3 different people now over the last 2 years that is a long left turn. So is that something that staff has looked at or could look at, or do we got to get the MTO involved? I'm not sure how that works.
Oh, I think Greg's going to give you an answer here.
Yes, through the chair. That is an MTO-controlled intersection, so the municipality doesn't oversee the maintenance or the timing of that intersection. But I am happy to report we've been working with the MTO over the last couple of years about the intersection. I meet with the MTO regularly, and I brought a bunch of data to them about the area, and I'm happy to report that they are looking at adding an extra phase to there, a turning phase that should help relieve some of the congestion that you've noted. I just don't have a timeline for it, but I have spoken with the MTO recently and confirmed that they are looking at that.
Councillor Miller?
Yeah, no, good news. And I'll pass that on, saying like the ASIP program, we don't quite know when, but it is coming. So appreciate it.
Okay. Councillor Oakley, you had something for other business?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to highlight while we're, on admin and ops and talking about construction, all that good stuff. I just wanted to highlight and explain my own lateness this morning. There is one of our local businesses here in Ward 2 is a little isolated due to the construction on the Green Lane and Dundas Street intersection. The Tim Hortons back there is still open. It's still accessible. So for folks who typically patronize there, I recommend still getting out there. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks months for them while we're working on that intersection. So just make sure you get out and support them there because, yeah, they're a little isolated, but it's still accessible via Green Lane or Consolidated Drive onto Orochi Boulevard. So make sure you still support them even though they're a little cut off right now.
Thank you for that, Councillor Oakley. I think that goes for all our businesses through this construction, right? We need to make sure we support our locals. Okay, nobody else had anything for other business. That being said, that brings that part to an end. We are going to get a motion to go in camera. There's two items, Councillor Oakley and Mayor Bailey. We're going to go in camera to discuss two items, RPT-0288-25, which is the Biggers Lane landfill business case, and RPT-0347-25, which is the Brant Community Healthcare System. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We're going to go 2 minutes, folks, please. And we have one item that needs to be ratified from our in-camera in open session, and that is RPT-0288-25 for the Biggers Lane landfill. And it's that the County of Brant staff be authorized to develop and negotiate a draft agreement of purchase and sale for part lot 14, concession 2, Cockshut Road, currently listed as MLS listing X120-25152, and that the draft agreement of purchase and sale be presented to council for approval at a future meeting. Can I get somebody to move that? Mayor Bailey, Councillor Bell. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. I don't see anything else on the agenda for today. Next meeting is Tuesday, October the 21st, 9 a.m. Motion to adjourn, Mayor Bailey.